Soul Garden. Live, love, be.
Good morning from my smartphone to yours. I'm casting love from the campuses of the University of California, Berkeley in Berkeley, California. And this is your Tuesday Namaste Today. Good morning and Namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Christopher Witecki. My modality is psychic astrology, and my personal mission is to stand in my heart and help other people into theirs. This webisode is for Tuesday, February 9th, 2016, and today the Great Human Walk has reached step 20, Aquarius. Hello, my friends. So nice to see you. I am live and on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley, which is an absolutely beautiful campus. Redwood trees all around me, and boy, you can really feel the vibration when you're around a 100-year-old tree. Let me tell you, it's so grounding and nice. I have often forgot. So go out and hug a tree, will you? And you might want to hug a tree today. That's because we're moving into the plurality degrees, step 20 and above. This is the third decan of Aquarius, or chapter 3, or the final 10 days, but this is the highest we go in frequency, and sometimes it can be quite unsettling. And today, it may very well be unsettling. In fact, let's talk about today's vibe. Today's vibe will be partly cloudy and probably oversensitive. Today, your heart is feeling everything. That's what step 20 means. So we're feeling it, and we might feel very exposed. I don't think there's any way around this particular step, and if you've ever seen Aquarius get really uncomfortable and leave, it's usually from this kind of degree on. Like, this frequency is either works or doesn't work, and people get real uncomfortable fast. So you gotta ground is basically what it is. Now, the emotions, our feelings today are in Pisces. So you might feel a little guilt, you might feel a little remorse, you might feel wishy-washy and not know how you feel. That is all the introductory degrees of Pisces. But given where we're trying to go now higher and take it higher, I think today through tomorrow, this moon transit in Pisces is really going to be an opportunity to let old vibration go. Because like a hot air balloon, if you want to go to the high degrees, you got to let off the dead weight. So today is the beginning of letting off that dead weight, and you might feel that dead weight as the day starts. Now, what are we receiving? We are receiving passionate consequences. Venus is at step 20, so we're opening up to the consequences of our decision, which is probably a good thing. Even if you want to go on a roller coaster, you still have to open up to the intensity of it, like, okay, I signed up for this, right? So we're all kind of opening up in that regard. And what we're thinking about is what our heart needs. Mercury's at step 25, Capricorn. So if you are anxious or you're unhappy, if you have anger inside of you, it's your heart talking to you, whether you are aware of it or not, because our mind is kind of wired to the heart today. Now, our ego is manifesting new boundaries. Mars has reached step 19, Scorpio. So today you're pushing forward and holding space for new boundaries. And that's literally true with the step 20 vibration as well. We are creating new boundaries. Creating means you will feel vulnerable until you put up the wall and hold it back. Yes, yes, yes. That is creating. Now, what will probably surprise you is that it sticks, okay? So you want to self-nurture and focus on those boundaries, but you will have to create boundaries. And as the moon crosses over Neptune today, which is what I'll show later in the Zen Den, I think we're going to do this releasing. I think there's going to be a strong psychic presence, and I think we're going to feel our decisions of forgiveness or not. So you will either feel your judgment today or you will feel your self-forgiveness. And that really brings us to today's Joy Quest. Today's Joy Quest, should you choose to accept it or are capable of it, is to release all self-judgment. If you want to step into your high frequency, release all self-judgment. I give you full permission, and you can do it for the rest of the month. See if you can. So let's move on to today's topic and talk about this release. Today's topic is self-forgiveness, the secret to manifesting abundance. So you're looking at a bona fide Taurus here who is obsessed with manifestation. I love manifestation. I love seeing something start as an idea and become a physical reality. And I have also been a person that's been a very critical person of myself. I've always been very critical about my abilities to manifest, very critical about what I manifest and how. But I have come to understand in the nature of the architecture of incarnation that being critical actually goes against manifestation. In fact, self-forgiveness and self-compassion really are not necessary tools of spiritual judgment, cause and effect, or doing wrong or doing right, but rather self-forgiveness and self-compassion is necessary in order to manifest. Put frankly, Virgo is solid reality, and Pisces is solid spirit. So in consciousness, we go from Pisces, solid spirit, to Virgo, solid reality. Now, we're all trying to create new realities all the time, and we all the time run into realities that we don't like. And I have found that the reason why people cannot manifest a new reality is because they cannot let go of the old reality. Virgos, in particular, cannot let go, right? And that is really the nature of both sides of the sign. When you get too stuck in Virgo, you need to let go and go to the Pisces side. And when you start going in circles in Pisces and getting nowhere, you got to get detail specific and go on the Virgo side. Each side of the consciousness serves the other. But did you know that Pisces is self-forgiveness and self-compassion, and Virgo is judgment? Which means if we want to judge our life differently, we have to go into self-mercy and self-compassion. There's no other way to let go of the Virgo side than to forgive ourselves. So let me ask you today's 5 o'clock question and put this idea into actual action. And here it is. What is your biggest screw-up in life so far? What is your biggest screw-up in life so far? And the follow-up? Are you still punishing yourself for it? So I'm actually not even going to answer this question. I'm not going to answer my biggest screw-up because I have a Leo rising. And I am honest, but not that honest. But I do in mind think about the screw-up I'm thinking of. And I am following through with this exercise. And I will say, do I still punish myself for it? No. I will say that my mind always wants to, and I always have to tell myself, no, forgive it, forget it. We're not going to go there. We're not going to worry about this. We're not going to ever feel bad about that again. So I want you to know that I often think of my mistakes, and I often have to go back and give myself self-compassion for it. Now, you might be holding on to some past mistakes, and you might be wanting to move forward in your life today, move forward into the higher Aquarius frequencies. And what may be keeping you from getting to those higher frequencies is frankly that you are judging yourself for mistakes of the past, judging yourself because you don't want something to go wrong in the future. And whatever it is, the judgment itself is keeping you from manifesting the new reality. Now, I want to share with you one of the things I have learned as Sensei to Serious Joy, and that is the 11 steps to serious joy. I talk about that, but what I discovered in my spiritual work is that consciousness unfolds under a certain number order. So it starts always with Scorpio and then goes to Leo and then goes to Cancer and Sag. And this is how manifestation happens. Well, I bring all this up just to give you one idea before you go off today. And that is that Virgo is the final step. In other words, in consciousness as it unfolds, what I understood in the architecture of incarnation is that the Virgo criticism of our life, to be critical of ourselves, is the final step in any manifestation of reality. So if you want to be a magnificent wizard or a magnificent butterfly or witch or whatever your magical pond is, you cannot criticize your magic until the final step, which means you must suspend all judgment or in other words, be self-compassionate, non-judgmental all the way up until you see it actually manifest in front of you. And then the weird thing is you're going to see when it does manifest in front of you, you're so happy it manifested, you're not very critical. You're just like, you're okay with it. So it's really about practicing. So in other words, there is no wrong in creation, folks. And today, as the moon crosses Neptune and later Chiron tomorrow, it's really time to forgive and forget, to let it go and let it flow, to give yourself a complete pardon for everything you've ever done wrong. Because if you think you're going to take that hot air balloon into the high frequencies of Aquarius, feeling guilty from something in the 3rd grade, You're going to learn the hard lesson. It's just going to weigh you down. So let's move on now to the Zen Den and an affirmation to help you forgive and forget. And welcome to the Zen Den. So let's take 3 breaths and connect to spirit here among the California redwood trees. And always on the 3rd breath, I feel like this deep just connection. It's always on the 3rd breath. It's so interesting. Do you notice that? So I want to give you an affirmation to help you let it go and let it flow. As the moon crosses over Neptune and later Chiron, it's time to forgive and forget everything. And really, I think it's our ego that sometimes has trouble with getting away with it. So say it out loud and say it proud as follows. I forgive and forget every mistake I've ever made today, and hereby get away with it. Say it one more time. I forgive and forget every mistake I've ever made today, and hereby get away with it. And that's what I found when I was trying to open up and forgive, that my ego had a real issue that it was getting away with something. And I wasn't getting away with anything, but I kept feeling like I was getting away with something and that I should be punished. So I had to affirm to myself, you're getting away with it. That's right. You're not going to be punished for that mistake. You're totally off. It's never going to be a problem. And so it is. So I think sometimes we've got to talk sides of ourselves into forgiveness. Not necessarily our soul already knows, our mind already knows. Sometimes it's like the ego. And if your ego is having problems getting away with it, then give your ego what it wants. Ego, you get away with it. That's what compassion is giving that party what it needs and what it wants, no matter what state of awareness it is. So let's take a look at the planets and talk about how things are getting a little passionate today. Today we move into step 20, and step 20 is the 3rd decan. It is I feel the 2, and for the 0, I protect. So right off the bat, if you're in my personal Sensei service, you already know as of 8 this morning that you should be protecting your feelings today if you're feeling vulnerable. If you're feeling super vulnerable, it's because that 0 next to the 2 is not protecting you. It's making you feel exposed, all right? Once that happens, we then start to feel a harmony within. And the moon, as I mentioned, is going to cross over Neptune today and later Chiron tomorrow. This means that we have about 36 hours of finding compassion, letting go, not allowing things to get to us, and allowing us to release from any of the dead weight that keeps us from going into the higher frequencies, literally. But there's more than that as well. As the moon crosses Chiron tomorrow, I'll bring this up, it's actually going to oppose Jupiter in Virgo. And that's what Spirit wanted me to talk about with you today is Jupiter. So let's look at Jupiter. Jupiter is at step 21, which is the Grandmaster step of Jupiter. So you know what? I didn't even recognize this in the open, but we have 3 planets at Grandmaster steps. So that was actually yesterday we had 3 planets Grandmaster steps. But Jupiter has been at the Grandmaster step since yesterday. So what this means is we're reprogramming what we believe. And what Spirit was showing me was actually the 2 and the 1. The 2 is I feel. So everyone has basically been feeling a certain way about reality, Virgo. And today it's time to feel a different way about reality, Virgo. And literally, I think what Spirit wanted me to let you know is that what ends up happening and forming here is based on what you feel and what you love, the 21 of the Virgo. So literally, changing your reality comes down to changing the way you feel about things, not changing the way you think about things. And today, you really want to be protecting those feelings. Now, the other thing I want to bring up is Mercury. Mercury is at step 25 today, which is a spiritual step. The 2 plus 5 makes the 7. But what's important is that 5. That 5 is I think. And ultimately, what we're thinking about needs to be the 2, our feelings again. So, in essence, I think today, everything is going to come down to people feeling anxious and feeling unprotected until you protect your feelings. Then when you do protect your feelings, the whole day is about feelings, particularly letting go of the feelings that keep you from manifesting the new reality. And I think letting go of the icky feelings that keep you attached to the old reality as well. The last thing I'm going to talk about is Mars. Mars is at step 19 Scorpio today, and that means 19 we are manifesting Scorpio boundaries. So today, again, that's, to me, this is another way. Mars 19 Scorpio is another way of saying 20, where you have to hold boundaries next to the 2. We are manifesting boundaries today, and that means that there wasn't a boundary there before, and you have to put one in there today. So these are the higher degrees. Once we get up to step 19 and above when it comes to boundaries, it has a lot to do with what works best, not so much any kind of promises or necessarily any kind of commitments or contracts, but rather what works best. So be prepared for that. Anything else, guides? They just say one more thing, actually, and that's Venus. Venus is in total concert. Venus is what we're opening up to. And what are we opening up to? The emotional consequences of our decisions, which is Capricorn. So it really seems, as I boil down the day and listen, that today is all about helping, really getting rid of your negative feelings, getting rid of your self-judgment, and opening up to to feeling at peace without judgment. Okay, that's all I have for today. I do want to do a shout out that I will be in Los Angeles next. I'm up here in Berkeley, San Francisco for another week, but I will be in in Los Angeles at the Conscious Life Expo, which will be on the 19th and 20th and 21st of February. And there will be a love fest, in other words, just a general appetizers and fun night on the Saturday, the night of the 20th. So if you're in the LA area, you might want to mark down your calendar. I would love to give you a hug and say hello in person. All right, my friends, I'm so grateful for you. If you'd like to be a part of my personal Sensei service, come on down to seriousjoy.me. Otherwise, I will see you in 24 hours with more. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.